10 reasons to vote for Hillary Clinton. Reason number 1.
Okay, you guys, it's time to get serious. The election is almost here, and we keep seeing all of this madness in the media about emails and tax returns, and that doesn't have anything to do with you. So I want you to tune all that out for a second, and I'm going to give you 10 reasons why it's important for us to get activated and show up in record numbers to vote for Hillary Clinton. Reason number 1, protect our wealth. So, how did the United States become the wealthiest nation in the world? The United States became the wealthiest nation in the world because of 300 years of labor theft from human beings that were called slaves. You see, if they could take that labor and not have to pay people, then that money could go back into the development of industry. So, for 300 years, they stole the labor of human beings called slaves and put it into industry. Imagine for just a moment if for 300 years, 3 million people were paid a living wage 365 days a year. That's how much money was stolen. And that money, instead of developing individual wealth, went into nation building. That's how the United States became the wealthiest nation in the world. We have laws against that now. So over the past 150 years, there's been a lot of documented cases of the theft or decimation of African American wealth, from the destruction of Black Wall Street in Tulsa to the redlining of Chicago homeowners. The latest of those was in 2008, when the Republicans, seeing that they were about to get voted out of office, facilitated the theft of America's wealth.
Startling new report has predicted the subprime mortgage crisis will cause people of color to lose up to $213 billion, leading to the greatest loss of wealth in modern U.S. history.
So here's where the vote comes in. The Affordable Care Act was set up essentially to backstop the decimation of your wealth. So whether you have 10 grand or 20 grand, or you're trying to make money to get to that point, if you get sick and all your money goes out the door, you got to start all over again. The Affordable Care Act is there to stop that from happening to you. So imagine you're a working person. You now are able to buy a home, but instead of having to sell that home, your family is able to keep that home for 100 years. What would the value of that be in generational wealth to your great, 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 great grandchildren? That's why the Republicans have been working so hard to repeal the Affordable Care Act. It doesn't have much to do with your health. It has to do with protecting your wealth, because they recognize that wealth is power and they don't want you to have it. Which brings me to reason number 1 of why we need to vote for Hillary Clinton. Why we need to get every single African American voter that we can and get them to the polls. We need to talk to our friends and explain to them 2 basic things. We need to protect President Obama's legacy, because they are going to try to wipe him out of the history books. You see, even now, they don't even want to acknowledge that he was born as an American. The other thing is that we need to protect the ability to develop generational wealth for our great, 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 great grandchildren. And the first way to do it is to make sure that the Affordable Care Act becomes solidified as law in American history. I'd like to see 1 million people get this message. Please pass this on and ask your friends to pass it on, and have the discussion about developing generational wealth in the African American community.